The International Academy of Astronautics has released their updated protocols for how scientists should react to evidence of extraterrestrials. How has the protocol changed? I'm Ryan Geckner, and I'm here with Chris Daly.
Why was the principal exorcist of Washington, D.C. removed from that position? Where is the disclosure movement headed after multiple file releases and a new press conference on the lawn of the Capitol building? This is Headlines from the Beyond.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to this week's edition of Headlines from the Beyond. We are doing a little bit of an extraterrestrial disclosure special this week because all the stories kind of converge over that. And unless you've been living under a rock, I'm sure you are aware that Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day just released. We're hoping to go see it, but we'll
Maybe
see.
not this weekend.
Yeah,
I don't
maybe
know.
not
We'll
this
see.
weekend. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
So, is the government talking about this stuff because of Spielberg?
I don't know, man. So we'll talk about that at the end. Hold your horses. So while everyone else has been busy talking about Spielberg's newest release, scientists with the search for extraterrestrial intelligence were deciding how they might actually respond to the discovery of ETs. So if you're a longtime listener of our podcast, you may remember in one of our earliest headlines episodes when we were back talking about Three Eye Atlas, we covered the protocols governing SETI. And we mentioned that there were plans to update these from their 2010 revisions. Well, last week, they released them, and we got a peek into how things have changed,
Or
and
not changed?
or not changed. Yeah, yeah. Honestly, looking over the full protocol, not a whole
It's
lot has
really not that
changed.
different.
Most of
Yeah.
it's the same. But one thing that they did do is try to better address the changing media landscape, the growth of social media since those were originally written, and artificial intelligence software as it relates to SETI. So, all very important things. So, some things that are new that are worth pointing out. First and foremost, it explicitly recognizes the broader approach that scientists now use to detecting extraterrestrial intelligence, including considerations of the entire electromagnetic spectrum. So that's important. They were like, hey, we're doing things a little bit differently now. Maybe we should include that in our protocols.
So, does this include more than just SETI then that follows these protocols?
No, so it's just the
Okay.
things that folks within SETI
Okay.
are doing that have expanded since 2010. They also looked at protections for researchers from doxing, harassment, or media scrutiny, which, I mean, it's sad, but honestly, probably necessary to do now, given the way that the internet is. And they also added a nice little caveat that no public announcement is to be made until the signal or artifact has been rigorously verified by independent organizations using different instrumentation than it was initially discovered with.
So that's new because they've always
Yes.
said that you had to wait on that public announcement,
Yes.
but it's about looking at it from different instrumentation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the piece that if you saw any of this on social media or in the news, the one piece you probably saw was the reaffirmation that no reply will be sent immediately by scientists. So they're not sitting listening with their giant satellites and saying, okay, as soon as I hear something, I'm going to hit this reply. We are going to leave the aliens on red, folks. And that basically what should happen is that we should not reply until after widespread international consultation, and that the decision belongs to all of humanity. Now, if you've listened to that original episode where we talked about SETI, you'll know that these are more like guidelines than actual rules, and that the international consultation process will probably be skewed towards certain countries and not others. So there is that piece.
Well, there's always a skew towards certain countries, but there's also the idea that other countries may or may not follow this kind of protocol.
Right, and that's the key piece here is that SETI really only governs researchers who are doing SETI research. So it's not
So it
like
doesn't even really cover the entire United States.
no, no, it really doesn't. I mean, and if an anthropologist just like was out doing some field work somewhere, digging up, say an archaeologist is doing a, dig and an alien comes in and shows up, like they're not governed by SETI. So like they could just totally, disregard all of this. So, but I think it's interesting to see that. I think, like we mentioned in the original episode, it's cool to see that there are actually folks that are putting their heads together and trying to say, like, this is how we think we should respond and this is what we should do. Whether or not that's actually what happens in practice is a whole.
I always find that interesting. There's protocols for
We
everything,
like a good protocol.
but do you follow them? And, I think about it just with all of the research that we do.
Hmm.
We have a protocol literally for everything.
Yes.
Every contingency, there's protocols everywhere. When those things happen, do you even know where the protocol is?
Right. Right. Yeah. No, you're banking on the project manager being close at hand and remembering.
You may have seen in the news that Monsignor Stephen Rossetti was removed from his duties as the primary exorcist for the Archdiocese in Washington, D.C. Now, this was interesting to say the least. He's
Mhm.
been that primary exorcist or principal exorcist for 19 years in that position. That's a long
That's a
time.
minute.
So,
Yeah.
and he's very well known in the exorcism community. He's written several books. So he's not a nobody.
Right.
He's also a priest in the Diocese of Syracuse and is still in that position. This is really confusing
I
to
was
me.
just going to ask, do we know how that works? Because Syracuse and DC are not exactly close.
No, I don't know why that is.
Okay.
I find it odd to say the least. But he also really he started a nonprofit, the St. Michael Center for Spiritual Renewal, and that's in DC.
Hmm.
And up until this happened,
Right.
the church was affiliated with that center, and they have now removed their affiliation from that center as well. I would encourage you, if you're interested in exorcism and deliverance, check out the St. Michael Center. They do weekly deliverance prayers online, which is wild to me.
That is-
But it's got tons and tons of information, really, really interesting, and we'll link to it. But yeah, so the church is no longer affiliated with them. So why did this happen? Well, there was a video online.
About something that you probably wouldn't expect.
Well, so first of all, Father Rossetti is very much all over social media.
Hmm.
He's somebody who's just on every platform and he's doing videos, he's doing all kinds of things. And so he, in a video, was talking about UFOs,
Hmm.
which is not what you'd necessarily expect. But he said that his belief was that UFOs are demons, not aliens, which is, of course, against the teachings of the Catholic Church, which is the problem.
Is it?
Well, apparently. What I found really interesting, though, was in the video, because I found the video. It took a minute to find it because it was like
Yeah,
removed
because
in some
after
places.
all of this happened, the official one got taken down. So
But you can still find it. We'll link to it.
yeah, yeah, we got you.
That one will still be up, but we'll see. But when he says this, this is my opinion.
Hmm.
He says very clearly, this is not de fide, which means of the faith. It's about something that has been divinely revealed and is formally defined by the church's highest authority, the Pope, or. So he says clearly, this is not that. This is my opinion, which usually is kind
I
of,
think that should be enough.
yeah. I mean, I guess you're not allowed to have an opinion if you're a priest.
I mean, it is the Catholic Church.
But like,
They're not doing anything for their image about allowing free thought.
they're really not. But yeah, so he said that he believes that UFOs, or the majority of them, are demons, not aliens. So I found this interesting, the fact that he's being removed as exorcist for this statement that wasn't even really a statement, and it was like buried in this video where he's talking about other things that are very much in line with the church's teachings. And so it was very odd. So, I looked into it a little bit more, and if you look at his background, he's really kind of a big deal. So he's both a licensed psychologist and a priest and an exorcist. And he's done a lot of writing. He's got a ton of books out there. And so he's got a bunch of books on exorcism, which are super interesting. He's got a lot of work on the health of priests, which is, as a psychologist, that's kind of what
Makes
he
sense.
focuses
Yep,
on. And
makes sense.
he's got a lot on there. Then I found another two that he's written, two books on the child sex abuse in the Catholic Church. And so that just makes me wonder if maybe he didn't, I don't know, ruffle some feathers along the way.
May upset a person or two or three.
Right. So
may be important.
that, and then if you look at the St. Michael Center, he's got a lot of information on there that is supposed to be for priests only, or even for exorcists only. And, because not every priest is an exorcist, it's a formally trained position.
And if you don't know that, you should go back and listen to our previous exorcism episode.
Okay. So really interesting, all the things that he's done that maybe have ruffled some feathers.
Mhm.
And so it just leaves me wondering.
Yeah, that is curious for sure. Now, I find it interesting that, we've been doing these headlines episodes for probably, I don't know, maybe about 6 or 7 months now, because we started them all back with the
It's all
3i
about
Atlas stuff. Yeah, like we really, if you've
That's
dug
my
in,
fault because I got so
that's
into
okay.
3i
No,
Atlas.
that's okay. It was fun. It was a fun ride. And if you want to like go back and relive the glory days of 3i Atlas and when we thought maybe somebody was going to stop by and beam us all up, go check those episodes out. But it's funny, when we were working on this episode, I was thinking about just how that whole period from when we started headlines to now there's been so much discussion about UAPs, ETs, and disclosure. And I think, not just 3i Atlas, but the release of Age of Disclosure and Spielberg's new film, in addition to all of the newly declassified files, disclosure and all of these conversations related to it have kind of been in the zeitgeist, so to speak, for a while. And that has made it almost hard to do these episodes and not make them Ryan and Chris's ET News Hour.
That's true. Yeah, yeah.
And so you'll notice that we haven't covered all of them. And we haven't covered the most recent declassified files. And we're going to talk about kind of our thoughts on why we haven't. But before we get to that, in the lead up to Disclosure Day's release, a new press conference was held urging further disclosure of government information regarding UAPs and non-human intelligences from the very lawn of the United States Capitol building. The speakers included several lawmakers that you may suspect if you follow any of this news, like Anna Paulina Luna, Tim Burchett, and Eric Burleson, alongside David Grusch, who's a former intelligence officer and UAP whistleblower. He's the famous guy that was at the congressional hearings and said we have, quote, biologics. So you've probably seen him on social media and everywhere else, as well as Leslie Kean, who's an investigative journalist famous for her work in the New York Times that kind of blew up this story in 2017, as well as her book UFOs, Generals, Pilots, and Government Officials Go on the Record, as well as James Fox, who's a filmmaker and the director of Moment of Contact. You may remember we talked a little bit about that film and the Virginia UFO case in Brazil. And so all of these folks got together and talked a little bit to the press. And really, we're just talking about how they think that the government is sort of not disclosing what it knows and not being forthcoming with lawmakers or just the general public, urging the federal government, including but not limited to President Trump, to release the information that they have so that we can all know what's going on. Now, what's interesting is, as all of this has been going on, you may have heard about the high profile disappearances of scientists and defense officials.
That we
Um,
talked about a
yeah,
little
we
bit.
also
Yeah.
we did talk a little bit about that. And they kind of provided a complete non-answer when asked by reporters.
Did that surprise you?
I don't know. I mean, kind of, sort of, in a way, because if you follow anything online about it, a lot of people are linking it up to everything that's going on with UAP disclosure. I mean, one of the answers that they gave was that basically you're the journalist, you figure it out, which is like, okay. But then when I was reading an article that we'll link in the show notes about it, there was a reporter from LA who was there, and he kind of cornered one of the lawmakers afterwards and kind of like pointedly asked them and was like, come on. And they basically said that, the investigation is being focused on General McCaslin's disappearance, but that's pretty much it. So it seems like they're trying to maybe distance themselves from, the UAP disclosure thing and this, all these disappearances and deaths, which I don't know what to make of that. I mean, it doesn't necessarily surprise me, but then it kind of does at the same time. But maybe that just is evidence of, a difference of opinion between people on the internet and the actual officials who are involved with this stuff. There's been a lot going on with this that we haven't followed, like the flip-flopping on whether or not AARO should exist, whether or not Lou Elizondo is a disinformation agent. Like, friends, you could go down the rabbit hole on Reddit with this stuff for days.
You probably
and
have.
and you may have. I mean, yeah, I may be talking
I
about
meant
you.
you
Oh,
personally.
I have not. No, see, that's the thing. So even before like last year, I was really not into the UFO stuff that much, and then I started reading on the abduction literature, and then just kind of ended up in that space for a while. But as all the disclosure stuff has come out, I'm not sure what to make of all of it. I'll admit I haven't gone through all the declassified things. There are only so many hours in the day.
Started going through it, and honestly, so much of it just looks like everything else we've seen
Yeah, and
before.
that's where I'm at is, everything I've seen is like, oh, it's a blurry infrared video from an F-16. I mean,
Yeah.
cool, it's weird, but
There's a couple in there that I'm like, oh, well, I haven't seen that exactly.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, and I don't know. I don't know what to make of all of it, and I think depending on where you sit in the paranormal world, you might be like, oh yeah, this is like part of how the government works around this sort of thing is to sort of make us all confused about what it is or what it isn't. But I don't know. I don't know what to make of any of it really at this point.
I think there's still just a lot of questions, and I'm waiting for, well, here's the third round of stuff. And
Yeah, and
I don't know.
I come back a lot to like, okay, there's a lot of people in the paranormal community, particularly in the UAP UFO space, who are very distrusting of the government. And there's lots of reasons not to trust the government, regardless of what your stance is on UFOs, right? But if we're not trusting the government, if we're starting from that baseline,
Mhm.
or at least some of us are, then why are we even paying attention to all this? Is this not just some big smoke screen? And I don't know. I mean, I really don't know.
Well, we're paying attention because it's fun to pay attention.
Yeah, it is. And yes, and that's the
I
other
mean,
part of
that's
it
part of
too,
it.
is that like, do I really think they're going to tell us everything?
No,
Not really,
of course not.
and so
But could this be leading up to some sort of revelation
maybe.
that is something? I mean, do I think they're going to come out and say, yeah, here we're going to introduce you to these four aliens that have been living with us and they're four different species? I don't think they're going to do that.
That
Um,
would be awesome.
but it could be leading to something.
Yeah.
Maybe it's leading to Spielberg's film.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, and I mean, even not to get into it too much, but like Spielberg even has made some comments
Yeah,
in interviews leading up to the film, which maybe it's just brilliant marketing and like it's Spielberg, so maybe it
he's
is.
pretty smart.
He is, and it's a super dude. So I don't know. I mean, we'll keep following it like we do, and if they do parade out, for alien species, we're going to be upset they didn't call us to interview them. But but we will talk about it here. You definitely won't hear that here first, though. You'll find that other elsewhere on social media, I'm sure.
I did see an interesting interview. This is a total aside, but I
Yeah.
saw an interesting interview with Spielberg the other night, where he was talking about at the time when he was making Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which they showed the other night on some channel. So he was talking about this, and he was saying while that was being filmed, him and his good buddy George Lucas were hanging out, and they made a deal, and they told each other, look, I'm going to give you 2.5% of the gross from my film. So Third and Cat,
What?
yeah, Close
Close
Encounters of the Third
Encounters,
Kind,
yeah.
Third Kind. And Lucas was like, all right, well, I got a film I'm making right now. I'll give you 2.5% of that.
Okay.
What film was that?
Would that have been Star Wars?
That would have been Star Wars. So Spielberg was like,
That's
he made out on that one.
amazing. That's amazing. That's
Total
so
aside, but
good.
good story. Anyway.
That's awesome. I love that. Who knew? Well, like I said, we'll keep following this and just thank you for listening. All of the new listeners, welcome. And if you hear a story that you think we should cover, send it to us. We'd love to hear it. We're always combing through the news for different stories we can cover, and we'd love it if you send us some our way. So, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, pretty much all of the places. So, thank you for joining us as we continue to follow the stories of the strange and the uncanny. This has been Headlines from the Beyond.